everyone, welcome back to Real Housewives of Potomac Season 10 Episode 8. Now we continue back at Ashley's Pride Parade party, and we see that Kierna is just all over, the Monique Samuels and Stacey thing with, Stacey trying to date Chris Samuels. My thing is, why is it Kierna? Why is she the one bringing it out? Like, Kierna, sit back, relax. You don't need to bring everything out already. And while everything is going on and the discussion is happening, we can just see Stacey's face, and it's all scared and shook. Even still, Kierna, calm down. You putting 20 on 10. And even Stacey, Stacey's just saying, look, I just know this man socially. I'm not sure if, Stacey did reach out to the girl and ask her to hook her up with Chris Samuels. But, from what we see, Monique doesn't even care. They've been divorced for 2 years. She would expect him to start dating. Now, after that messy scene, because they did call it out, that was real messy of Kierna to do all that, the party goes on. But, of course, in Ashley-like fashion, even though the party is going well, she does bring up Stacey's cannabis line launching and how it's weird that Stacey chose a Nigerian name, which is Shia or Shayo. So of course Stacey starts to explain, hey, I took a DNA test. Turns out she's a certain percentage of Nigerian and she wanted to embrace it. Now, I necessarily don't have a problem with Stacey wanting to embrace her heritage that she just found out about. But, if y'all going to be her friend, Wendy and Tia, then yeah, help her pronounce the name, help her learn it. Don't just side eye her the entire time when she does make a mistake. So after that discussion, the ladies finally get on the float. I guess it's a GNA float for the Pride Parade. We see the ladies have a little fun, and then of course after the Pride Parade, they're gonna either have, I think, lunch or dinner, or I guess just a normal sit down. And as the ladies are sitting down, of course, the ladies start to catch up. Giselle, she's seeing Monique in a different light, and also Wendy as well. They're all catching up to see how Chris is doing, what's been going on in Monique's life, because she has not seen these women for 5 years. And as that conversation continues, Wendy's asking, you guys had a solid foundation with Chris, and what happened, and Monique just lets us know, it was just all image. And Monique also says, she wasn't being loved properly, I guess, in her version, because Chris never really, even though they're married, yeah, you're still supposed to actually go out and date. And that was one of Monique's complaints. And I can really appreciate this moment because, everybody, even Tia, they're all, they all have questions about Monique's marriage. And I think that's just this moment is a cute sisterhood. And everybody is just, kind of just wanting to know what's new in her life and what actually happened, what led to this point in Monique's life. And she even talks about the very last moment that she just realized that she and Chris just were not going to work out and that she was done with their marriage. So after that whole, coming together moment, we see in the next scene that Angel and her husband are now shopping for homes. And now the property that they're looking at, it looks very nice, but they keep flashing back to that Colorado home, and it ain't got nothing on that Colorado home. Now, as the two sit down and kind of, take in the home, of course, Angel's going to start telling Bobby, her husband, about some of the things that have been going on within the group of ladies. Now, Angel still brings up the catfish comment about her, of course, her weight change and everything. We all know Angel's had kids. But at this point, Angel, let it go, honey. It was said, y'all got everything out. You still had an issue. You called Bobby at, I guess, the bachelorette party. But Angel, let it go. If you say you're going to keep moving forward to get to know the ladies, then speak your full truth. This is what we want from you. We don't want you to keep, talking to everyone else about it. Talk to Wendy and Giselle about how you truly feel. And finally, dead the situation. This catfish photo is dragging on. It's too much. Now, in this next scene, we see Giselle, tacky, putting on makeup while she's already at the restaurant. I guess she's doing a finishing touch. She could have did that in the bathroom. But we also see Ashley show up to the restaurant. And then we also get to see Tia and Kierna show up as well. And my guess is they doing a little girls' lunch or brunch. But, either way, it's cute. And as the ladies come together and have a seat, we see them start to talk about what happened at Parade, if they recover from all that drinking, and even meeting Grace, Giselle's daughter. Then Giselle announces that her podcast with former cast member Robin Dixon, they have reached a milestone. And that milestone is they have over 10 million downloads on their podcast, Reasonably Shady. So after that announcement and, little light celebration, then Kierna has a little bit of tea. Cookie, Karen's friend, gave her a call. So basically, Cookie tells Kierna that Chris Samuels, Monique's ex-husband, calls her, and he's upset because there's a rumor going around saying that he has had bad sex and was treating Monique like a piece of meat. Now, from what we saw, Monique was not saying any of that. Monique was actually very cordial, very nice about her life with Chris. So of course, Kierna puts two and two together, and we all can kind of guess that it was Stacy that ran back and gave that tidbit of information. Then Kierna confirms that Cookie told Kierna that Stacy ran back, told Chris Samuels that Monique was dogging him and talking really bad about him. Now, Stacy, for someone who wants people to believe her, why would you run back and give him the information like that? Why would you even give him any of that information? It wasn't as if that needed to be told to him. And I basically agree with Giselle and the other ladies. He did not need to know that, just like I said. But now, of course, Giselle's going to have a party for her milestone with her podcast. And guess who's going to be in attendance? Cookie. And of course, Stacy's going to be there too. And I hope so, because I need Cookie to address that. And I also need Monique to address that as well. You don't need to be running back and forth telling anybody what anybody has said amongst the group. Like, Stacey, you already know this. So after that lunch, we see Wendy and Monique meet up for their lunch. And I think this will be a good friendship because those two never really got the chance to connect after what happened. I guess I forgot what season it was. But, between Monique and Candace. So those two never really got to be able to connect and have a, friendship on and off the show. The ladies do discuss the past and how Wendy reached out to Monique after the fight with Candace. And Wendy also does discuss that, I wasn't going to reach out to her to start the friendship, but Monique did reach out, and you know what? Wendy was open to it. And then they also discussed the friendship between Wendy and Giselle, how Wendy does see Giselle as a friend now. And I do agree, Giselle and Monique do need to have a conversation between each other, but everybody's different. The attitude's different. Everybody is somewhere different in their life now, and maybe those two can start a friendship. And the ladies also discussed how, Karen was before she was sentenced, before she went and, got arrested, how Wendy, found out that Karen was bad-mouthing her and generally didn't thank her at the reunion, even though Karen didn't show up. So we know that Wendy and Karen's relationship is either done or strained. And including, they also discussed Cookie and how, Monique and Cookie are not real friends or good friends, but Cookie is good friends with Giselle. And they also discussed, the relationship between Wendy and Stacy. Wendy does like Stacy. Wendy does want to protect Stacy, but at the same time, Stacy has to watch how she moves within the group because, we are going to side-eye her. But why did Monique even pick up that Stacy was trying to somewhat be like Wendy as well? Now, if Monique is on the outside and she also sees this, then Wendy girl, watch out. But in this next scene, we see Stacy and Timo. I guess they're still doing their dates, getting, rekindling their relationship or marriage. I'm guessing for this date or to get together, they are with their daughter, Arabella, and she's at her little swim class. So they look like one cute little family, and they're, spending time with each other and bonding and enjoying each other still with Arabella, in her class. And as the class goes on, we see Tia walk up and join in on the class as well. So as Tia comes in, she's talking to Timo. She meets Timo for the first time, and, she's trying to, I guess, get the husbands together so the husbands can be friends. But, Timo works a lot, so he's always, off traveling for work, and he's not able to show up for Stacy to Giselle's event. And as the conversation goes on, Tia's asking, do you want him, or would you see him ever meeting the other ladies? And of course, Stacy says no. And as they begin to talk about the other ladies, of course, Timo looks a little uncomfortable, but you know what? He has to go anyway. He got to go make the coin. So he exits, and Stacy and Tia can continue the conversation. And Tia and Stacy starts to discuss Monique, how they're both meeting her for the first time. And of course, Stacy's like, oh, no, she's a nice girl. Yeah, she seems really cool. But Stacy, that's not what's going around. What's going around is that you talking shit or talking trash behind Monique's back, and I want to know why. But after that mini conversation, Tia starts to ask about Timo coming out on events with Stacy so that he can be seen around the ladies. And Stacy's like, what? I don't think he's at that level. He's not comfortable, and we can tell he's uncomfortable. He was really uncomfortable when Tia showed up. So in this next scene, we see Grace and Giselle show up because they're getting ready for Giselle's event for her milestone with her podcast. And with that being said, Giselle also lets, us and the planner know that Robin's not coming. She doesn't want to come. and, you know, she feels a certain type of way of how she left the show the last time. And then Giselle also discusses how she might have or might want to uninvite Stacey because, you know, the ladies are mad at Stacey. She gives the details on how Stacey had called Chris Samuels and basically switched the entire story around about how Monique was describing their relationship all the way up to the end. It's just not a good look for Stacey to show up and, you know, be fake nice towards the ladies, even though you just met Monique and now you're already running back telling everything that's been said. So after that scene, we now see Wendy and Tia meet up with their husbands on a cute couple date or a couple outing. And, you know, I love Tia. So to see Tia meet up with the other ladies, spend time, make friends of her own within a group, and to bring the husbands in, that's going to be a nice close relationship, especially, you know, with their heritage being Nigerian and with them being royalty. But it is cute to see the couple catch up, trade stories about how long they've known each other, what they, you know, when they met, how they met, and other things. Now, in the midst of this conversation, we also learned that Stacey was supposed to join with Timo. And apparently Stacey didn't show up because Timo wasn't quite ready. Now, with that excuse, because apparently Timo just, you know, didn't want to have that great big of an introduction to the group. And it's not to the group, it's just to 2 other ladies and 2 other men. But, you know, nonetheless, Tia says, well, you know, I thought he was out of town. That's what you told me, or that's what was said when I was there. And then, of course, Stacey lies and goes, well, you know, yeah, he just flew in. Of course, production is, you know, messy. They show the flashback. And, of course, he's not supposed to be back in until next week. So which one is it, Stacey? Just pick a lie and stick with it, Stacey. That's my problem with your lie. You can't even come up with a good lie to make it sound convincing. So, you know, in between Stacey's lying, you know, both ladies, you know, are confronting her on the phone. So, of course, Stacey gets defensive and thinks that Tia is causing friction. And I'm not sure how, because you told me this man was going to fly in sometime next week, not the same day or the same night that we were supposed to meet up and have this date. But Stacey, if you stop lying, you'll be okay. Like, you don't have to lie about it all the time. And now you're causing your own friction, and now you're trying to blame Tia. That's not going to happen. And also a part of this conversation, you know, Angel is brought up because, once again, Angel is amongst a certain amount of ladies. Ashley, I think Kierna, Tia, and I forgot who else was there, that, you know, Wendy may have set the tone and she can be dismissive, you know, basically what Kierna was basically complaining about. And I'm just like, Angel, once again, says, why you can't say this? You can say this in a group, but why you can't say this on Wendy's face? Like, I don't understand what your problem is saying this on Wendy's face. I just feel like it's a lot of fakeness, and the ladies need to actually step up to who they trying to act like they are. If you are this person that's going to be straight up, then be straight up. But don't gossip behind my back because you feel a way, but then in front of my face, you feel a totally different way. No, say what you got to really say to me. So after the dinner of the couples, we are now at the scene where Giselle is having her big event for her podcast with Robin Dixon, but Robin is not going to be in attendance here. And we get to see all the ladies show up. I'm loving Angel's outfit. I just wish she could, you know, speak her mind to the ladies fully. As all the rest of the ladies show up to this rooftop event, and of course, once all the ladies get there, they start to discuss things. Of course, and Stacey's one of them, you know, Stacey and her lies. If she's going to bring Timo or not, if Timo was supposed to show up next week, or if he's supposed to, you know, come that night because he had just flew in that night. We see Giselle also talking to Tia's husband, getting to know him. And, you know, the event does look nice. Even in the moment, you know, you see Angel try to, you know, move forward with Giselle, but I think the discussion was kind of weird because, Angel, that's not the time or place. You could have just said, you know what, I would like to move forward with you, even though we've had our bad instances and stuff like that, but you don't need to have the full discussion right there and right then. That's someone's event. Let Giselle have her moment at her event. And once again, Angel, you got me sticking up for Giselle. You getting on my nerves. And now even Giselle don't really care because this is Giselle's day. And I'm happy for Giselle. And now we get to see Giselle, you know, some tall, dark, and handsome man, because we know how Giselle like him. You know, he brings her some flowers, but they're careful to not show his face. But we are seeing Ashley's face. So, yes, this is a man that Ashley probably knows that's in Giselle's life, and Ashley is just giving it away. And as this party goes on, we start to see how Ashley actually knows this man, and he was on Love Hotel. Now, I didn't watch it. I thought it was a waste of time, but that was a man that I think Ashley was interested in, and he was brought in, I guess, as a stunt to kind of show the shock and awe of Ashley's face. And Ashley, you gave it away, honey. All you had to do was be cool. But we see that Giselle knows him, and Giselle knew him enough to invite him to the party. So you're just gonna have to accept that, honey. You then also get to see Wendy show up in that green dress. It really complimented her skin tone, and I love Wendy with short hair. And we also see Wendy show up with, of course, her husband and Stacy. We all know Stacy's supposed to show up with Tia and her husband, but of course that phone call put a bad taste in Tia and Stacy's mouth. So Stacy, I guess, decided to show up by herself without Timu, with Wendy and Eddie. Now, in this moment, I feel like Angel should address Wendy, seeing as how you have these issues, and I hope she does, because if you gave Giselle a little bit, and this is her party, so she's really not caring about it, but this is a moment for you to address Wendy and your concerns with her. And upon Stacy's arrival, we see that Tia is not too keen on saying hi to her, and also we're seeing old friends of Karen's that like the dresser Vivian, Stacy and her are no longer friends, because Vivian kept putting her in outfits that the cast members have already worn, which does look shady. Like, why are you put me in something new? Put me in something that no one else has worn. I don't want to look like I'm trying to deliberately copy these women. That's tacky. So after all the pleasantries, everyone's meeting and mingling and talking, we see Giselle get up because she's about to do her speech. And as her speech goes on, she does mention that Robin will not be in attendance. Now, if both of you are on it, then I'm with the ladies. I do expect both of you to be there. Robin, I don't care how you left the show, got fired or whatever. You still should have showed up. That's your event too. That's your thing. Ain't nothing or ain't no show gonna stop me from showing up for my girl and for what we do. And as the celebration continues, after the speech and the cutting of the cake, we see Cookie arrive. Now, as Cookie arrives, we see Stacy take Wendy and Tia off to the side so that she can discuss what happened the night before, or what happened while she was on the phone with the ladies when it was supposed to be a triple couple, or for a couple's date night. Tia then starts to explain her side of how she actually genuinely wanted to get to know Stacy, and how she didn't really want to listen to the other women about how Stacy's constantly lying, constantly changing the story, and just seeing Stacy as a real shady person. She wanted to give Stacy a chance. And from what Tia has seen, she doesn't think that she would have a proper friendship with Stacy, because Stacy has shown her too many, I guess, indiscretions between her lies and how she acts and moves within the group. In the midst of that conversation, it does get kind of heated, because Stacy's, she's just going to stick to her lie, and Tia's just not having it. She doesn't want to be a part of that, and if all you're going to do is lie, then there's no point of us being friends. So, of course, an argument ensues, because Stacy, honey, you said that man was coming in next week. You said he was flying out, that he wasn't going to be able to make the dinner. Then all of a sudden, when you're on the phone with Wendy, oh, he just flew in. No, he didn't. Which one is it? And if he doesn't want to meet with anybody, then just say that. Kieran said it. Her man, Greg, didn't want to be on camera the first season that she was here. And we see the other ladies come around, because now they are a part of that argument as well. And then within that argument, of course, Kiana chimes in or rushes in, because now she just has to get her point out on what happened and how Monique was there and how they really did have a good sister bond, but now she has to now blow up the situation with her feeling. And then Kiana also brings up how Stacy had told Chris everything that Monique said, and basically switched it to make it feel like it was something negative that Monique was saying, and how that got relayed from Chris to Cookie, and then from Cookie to Kiana. So as this conversation is getting totally out of control, because this is not the time to be doing this, but of course it's TV. We need a little bit of drama at some of these events. And, Cookie then comes up and tells her side and goes, yeah, you told him, because Stacy is acting like she didn't say anything. And Cookie's like, girl, you told him, because he called and told me that you told him. But then Wendy chimes in, and Wendy says, well, when I met up with Monique, she says when Cookie's around, Cookie's going to trash her. So Monique and Cookie are not cool, and that's what Wendy brought into the situation. So do we believe Cookie? Do we believe Stacy? Let's figure this out. And Wendy did have a good idea. If this is all about Monique, then Monique needs to be here to defend herself, and not everybody talk about her, which is correct. Don't talk about me while I'm not there and I can't say nothing. And now I'm side-eyeing Ashley, because Ashley, ain't that your friend? Why aren't you saying that about Monique? You just want to hit the tea, huh? Now, of course, this episode ends on a bad note because Kieran and Stacey continue to argue because, I mean, yeah, Chris and Monique do need to have a healthy co-parenting relationship, and nobody, not Cookie, not Stacey, not anybody, needs to be in between them two parenting their children. Now, with that being said, the episode did end, so you know what to do. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.